You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there and welcome. Whew. Looking at the stats from last week for this podcast, you all really did not care to hear me cry about my adoption story, did you? It's all good if that one didn't resonate with you. It seemed like the right time and following my heart to share it, and I'm not one bit sorry. It meant a lot to me to do that, and getting super vulnerable is not always the easiest thing to do now, is it? Perhaps this one will hit in some way. I am always grateful when you press play regardless of your reason, or my own ability to create a catchy title that is going to resonate. I don't know, you all, this life, it's all a game. It really is. I fully acknowledge that. So this week's title is not about me whining that my stats dropped last week. I'm not taking that personally at all. It just wasn't something you could identify with. So let me ask you today if you yourself have ever made a statement such as this: I just want somebody to love me. I know that I sure have. Oh my God, many times. I thought if I had only received more love from my parents or my partners or my immediate family, my extended family, my friends, then I wouldn't have so many fucked up thoughts about not being good enough. I spent most of my life believing that it was all on them to bring me happiness, that I missed the actual point of the assignment. It actually has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. So when I say that I just want somebody to love me, I am saying that with awareness that I used to say that constantly. If only someone would love me. And let's follow that up with, let's be honest, the way I love them. There it is. That's the key. That's the point of this episode that I'm going to break down for you. How love actually works. This is going to blow your ever-loving mind if you've never heard it before. And if you've never heard me talk about this before, well, I have. And I'm probably going to be talking about it a hell of a lot more because it's so very important. It's such a necessary bit of information to have as you travel through this life. Yeah, I said this life. I am absolutely and wholeheartedly subscribed to the concept of reincarnation, or even just incarnation. That might be repeated. That our souls chose this life in particular. I truly am fully engaged with this, and it helps me so much as I navigate my daily life. Stay with me, because it is actually fun to explore the what ifs. What if every single person that you meet is a reflection of you? What if they are holding up a mirror to show you what you need to work on within yourself? What if your family, your friends, and those closest to you had a soul contract with you in advance? What? Like, you have an agreement of what you're supposed to learn during this round of the game, and that agreement was made before you even pressed play and said, yeah, send me to Earth in human form so that I can experience things beyond this constant love, light, happiness, and bliss. Because without the contrast of darkness and pain, you can't have the full experience. Our souls get bored. They get bored by constant love, light, happiness, and bliss. So we humans are always going to have this contrast as long as we are humans. It is necessary. And it's so very hard to navigate because part of the contract or agreement that we make before we incarnate on this planet is that we will forget who we really are. That's part of the assignment. That's part of the full experience, if you will. That has certainly been my experience. For example, while I absolutely believe that my mother did the best that she could with what she knew at the time, I was in a place of total and complete dependence as an infant. I didn't decide to be born on the hilltops of eastern Kentucky. My stupid parents decided that it would be a fun little project when they were in their early 20s. They did not give two shits about whether or not I would face the stigma of being the product of a home birth when I was a teenager. Now, were they both a bit remorseful decades later when I tried to get a passport? Yeah. But I'll tell you this. Mom was still pretty defiant about it, as she should be. Look, I birthed this child. I can attest to that. Yet her affidavit of my birth was not good enough for the U.S. Department of State to recognize it. That is a whole story in itself. I have shared it before, and I will probably share it again. I would be pissed too if I were her. I would be so freaking pissed. Okay, love me. Back to the love me aspect. Yes, this is important because this is what we do, right? We judge our parents, our partners, and everyone else around us for not loving us the way that we want to be loved. So what is love? Let's explore. Love is an emotion. It is the highest vibe emotion we can possibly have. Yes, it is an emotion. As much as we want to believe it is a state of being, and it can be, but these states have ebbs and flows. The reality is, love is an emotion. And emotions are energy in motion. And emotions are what we feel inside of ourselves. That energy is inside of us. It cannot be handed off to another. Energy in motion cannot be wrapped up in a pretty box with a perfect bow. Side note, something else you should know about me is that I can actually tie a perfect bow from scratch ribbon and a pipe cleaner, thanks to my years working in my dad's flower shop. Yeah, just a little sidebar, informative note. Anyway, this is the point. It may be best illustrated by a poster that I was drawn to back in my 20s. I didn't draw it, but I was drawn to it when I thought I had found my forever partner. It was this image of two Native Americans embracing, and it said, "The only thing better than being loved is to love." And it took me a couple of decades to figure that one out. Why is it better to love than to be loved? Because you are the one feeling the love. It was always you. You can't package that up and hand it to another. Freddie Mercury also knew that. He sang about, "Find me somebody to love, not somebody to love me." Dope. Seriously, if that song is now an earworm for you, I am not one bit sorry because Freddie is amazing And if it helps you to remember you are seeking somebody to love and not somebody to love you, then my job is done. We can stop here and you can go listen to that song. Now, we have been taught, we have been conditioned to believe that there are all of the ways to demonstrate love for another. And that gets a little dicey too, doesn't it? Because the ways that we were taught, conditioned, and programmed may not fully align with the ways that others have been taught, conditioned, and programmed. The way that I demonstrate love may not be the same way that my partner demonstrates love, and so on, and so on. And those are the things that, of course, you figure out early on. But the first ways that we learn to demonstrate love when we are babies, well, that comes from our parents. And maybe we had fantastic role models for parents, and maybe we didn't. Maybe it was balanced out where one parent had it together and the other one did not. This is why I absolutely love to envision soul contracts and that we all made agreements with one another before we incarnated here. I find it very powerful to view in this manner. You may not be there yet, and that is fine. I invite you to stay here anyway. All that matters is your ability to navigate this now. This being your awareness that your parents just did the best they could with what they knew at the time. This also being to fully understand, engage, and embrace that the love you seek is inside of you. It always has been, and it always will be. Perhaps this will resonate. When I was a child trying to navigate this life, all I wanted was someone to love me. When I was a young adult trying to navigate this life, all I wanted was someone to love me. That was around the time I was drawn to that poster that it's better to love than to be loved, by the way. I just didn't fully understand what I had stumbled upon. Now, here I am in middle age. Oh my God. Yes, my AARP cards are starting to come in the mail. Fully realizing that no one can give me their love. Let me repeat, emotion or energy in motion is not something that is transferred from one human to another. Emotion is what you feel within. And the other person in your life may well feel something for you within themselves. And you may be able to see it when you look into their eyes, when you are just in their presence, or when they demonstrate through their actions, which this last one is really about conditioning, in my opinion. This is when it's a match. You feel the love in you, and your partner or your friend or your family member feels the love in them. And we can demonstrate all day long, but will that demonstration be received as love from the other party? This is what I'm referring to about conditioning, because I'm here to tell you my childhood was a bit rocky. Newsflash. By the time I was 14, my mom had been through 2 divorces, and I was all kinds of confused about the messaging she had given me about who I was and where I came from. That's not her fault. I just didn't understand at the time how to process it all. So I made it my fault. My filters would take her words and twist them into being all of the ways that I would never be good enough to love. Now, how can I take my own perspective and expand it to what I know about those in my inner circle? Let's stay with my mom, for example. Going to pick on her today because Mother's Day is coming up and I adore her. Maybe being a mom is just an iterative process, just like being a human. And that's why the eldest child kind of becomes the crash test dummy, which is why so many of us eldest siblings feel like we had it harder than our younger siblings. Maybe that's true. Maybe our parents were just trying to figure it all out as they grew themselves. And by the way, both of my birth parents are also eldest children, so that tracks in my brain. They both probably got that shock treatment of other humans trying to figure it out. And when the next baby came, it was better for that baby. And when the next baby came, it was even better for that baby, and so on. It has taken me half a lifetime to figure this out. So I hope you are paying attention, because I don't want it to take this long for you. When we project onto others that it is their responsibility to make us feel whole, worthy, and loved without recognizing their limitations and ours, we all suffer. I'm going to say that again. My God, that was really good. that was a really good thought there, Sonny. Hey, when we project onto others that it is their responsibility to make us feel whole, worthy, and loved without recognizing their limitations and ours, we all suffer. We are giving away our power when we put the responsibility on another human to make us feel loved. The reason for this really comes down to our capacity to understand based on our conditioning. I want to come back to the concept of soul contracts or agreements for a moment. First, if you've never seen the movie Soul, you can find it on Disney. I highly recommend it. When I saw it, it was exactly the way that I have imagined that souls make agreements before they incarnate. It's just a wonderful and engaging movie about the spaces between life and death. Second, there is a children's book by Neil Donald Walsh called The Little Soul and the Sun. That is also a favorite go-to of mine, and one that I love to share with clients. It's been a while since I shared it here, so I'm going to give you the recreation out of my brain as best I can recall it now. This little soul, full of light, runs up to God excitedly, saying, "I know who I am the light." But then it decides that it's not enough to know who it is. It says it wants to be it. I want to know what it feels like to be the light. And God says, well, it's hard to know yourself as the light when you're in the light. So I'll surround you with darkness. And then God goes on to explain that in order to experience anything at all, the exact opposite will appear. And God says to the little soul, you can be a light in the darkness because you're special. Do you know what it means to be special? And the little soul says, yeah, I think there are different kinds of special that I can think of, like helpful, kind, sharing, compassionate. And God says, yes, now, what kind of special do you want to be? And the little soul thinks about it for a moment and says, I want to be forgiving. Now, while this conversation is happening, all the other souls, or the light beings, are gathered around as spectators, and one friendly soul steps up and offers to help. And the little soul says, how can you help me? And the friendly soul says, I'll take another form with you. I will be a part of your life, and I'll give you something to forgive. And the little soul says, why would you do that for me? As if this is a gift, right? And the friendly soul says, don't you remember? We have danced together through many lifetimes, and we've helped each other 1,000 times. You've helped me before, and I want to help you with this. The friendly soul had just one request, though, a favor. It said, in that moment that I do the worst to you, remember who I really am. Oh, that gets me every damn time. Every time. So, if, for example, you are the soul that says, okay, I want to know forgiveness, you're probably going to have several rounds of getting something to forgive from the other souls around you who agreed to help you find your purpose, right? I want you to think of that story when you come into contact with others who don't seem loving toward you. Maybe, just maybe, they're doing their job. Maybe they are fulfilling an agreement. This goes for your partner, your sibling, your parent, your best friend, or the man on the street who was just rude as fuck to you. Everyone has a role in your movie, even if they are just an extra. They signed up for it, and they were cast accordingly. As Rumi says, there are as many ways of loving as there are people. And that wildflower variety is the great beauty of this dimension of existence. Oh, yes, sir. I can't tell you how much this viewpoint has helped me over the past few years and how much it continues to. And so I'm probably going to keep talking about all of the ways that we are just souls guiding each other back home. This is the game I would much rather play. To just view the world differently, to view our lives differently than this 3D game that has been designed to keep us playing small and feeling oppressed or not loved enough. This has been going on for generations now. You have the opportunity to shut down the notion that someone else needs to love you or to love them, your children and grandchildren, and have the knowing that you already hold all of that power within yourself. You have the opportunity to teach them other ways to view the world, but first, you have to be willing and open to learn them for yourself. That is my mission, to help other humans break the cycle of destructive family relationships so they can heal themselves and future generations. Boom! I am here for you when you are ready. DM me on Facebook or Instagram at Sunny the Life Coach, or email me. I will drop the link in the show notes to receive a link to my schedule, and let's have a virtual conversation, just the two of us. I absolutely welcome that. I love to share the things that no one else is going to tell you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out Extra Light, published every Friday, where I provide a brief expansion of my weekly podcast episodes that can also be enjoyed standalone. I would love to have you join me over there as well. Until next week, get out there and find somebody to love. Light up, shine on.